Love you too. I knew baby. Oh, freshly dipped though. I was trying to show the truth. Yeah, my mom's is single. Mom's is single. I ain't gonna hate on my mom. She's single. My mom's so.
Baby, we've all heard the chatter by now. Folks keep whispering that Diddy's mom, Janice, wasn't just sitting on the sidelines while those so-called freak-off parties were going down. But now people are really talking, saying there could allegedly be a tape out there with both Janice and Diddy involved, and that's got the internet losing its mind. That's where Jaguar Wright comes in, because she's been out here throwing out heavy accusations about both Diddy and his mother, and this time the streets are saying Janice might finally clap back hard, not with the usual calm statements defending her son either. Allegedly, she's ready to go straight at Jag, full force, no filter. And let's be real for a second. The stuff Jag has been saying about Janice and Diddy isn't brand new gossip pulled out of thin air. A lot of this has been speculated about for years, especially when you look at how Diddy grew up in a life split between polished appearances and darker influences.
Y'all see when they interviewed Dapper Dan about Diddy?
I haven't seen that one. Please.
They ran into Dapper Dan in Harlem and they asked him what he thought about what was going on with Diddy and if he knew Diddy. And I love Dapper Dan for this. He said, I grew up with his parents. He said, and what's going on with him has been going on long before him. Now, his father was a government snitch and a bad actor in the criminal world altogether. But there's whispers in the streets of Harlem that Diddy's mother isn't alive, not his biological mother, that woman is his aunt.
Whoa.
There are whispers.
Wait a minute.
There are whispers.
After the death of his father, Melvin, who was connected to Frank Lucas and was killed at just 33, Janice moved the family out of Harlem and into Mount Vernon. Diddy went on to attend the strict Mount St. Michael Academy, a Catholic all-boys school, but people say his roots and connections to Harlem never really disappeared. Why does all of this keep coming back to Janice? Because people claim she never fully cut ties with her old street circle, even after moving the family out of Harlem. According to stories floating around from people who knew them back then, she often welcomed familiar faces from her past into their new home, keeping that same energy alive behind closed doors. And yes, we're talking about Janice.
About one time doing a dating show with her. She's so picky. She's so picky, I don't stand. But yeah, that'd be the funniest show in the world.
It will be. Especially with me.
I don't even want to get started when she was doing that. We're not doing that. Cause yeah, my mom's single. Yeah, for real. Mom do might have a good time. She ain't sitting in the house playing. Outside moving and shaking, baby.
That's right.
She come with me to strip club. I don't care. For real. It's my dog. You know, I want to live life. We out here moving and growing. My mom told me, she just said, keep moving, baby.
That's right.
Keep moving. She
Don't stop.
She could touch the floor with her palms. You know?
Flat.
Flat. Oh! Take pew, pew, pew.
Folks describe late-night gatherings that felt way too grown for a household with kids present, where boundaries were allegedly loose and supervision was questionable. Some now argue that those moments blurred the line between childhood and adulthood in ways that should have never happened. Fast forward to today, and here's where the rumors explode. People online are claiming that when authorities searched Diddy's home, there were whispers about old recordings being recovered, and shockingly, some say Janice was allegedly seen in a few of them.
You know, the way she dressed is not age appropriate, and I know some women gonna say, how she supposed to dress? She could dress whatever she want to. Now, listen to me, man. Nah, I ain't gonna have my mama around my friends or nobody with some me draws on and talking about, you know, she my mama. I don't give a shit. I ain't gonna be talking about my mama is bending over, putting her palms on the floor.
Jaguar Wright has been pushing this angle hard, saying there's a strong chance a so-called freak-off tape involving Janice exists. According to Jaguar, this whole freak-off culture didn't come from fame or money. It was allegedly something Diddy grew up around and absorbed early on. Jaguar took it even further, claiming that Janice allegedly ran what she described as a high-end speakeasy-style setup out of their Mount Vernon home. According to Jaguar, Janice publicly played the role of a hard-working single mother, even working as a school bus driver, while privately hosting a steady rotation of powerful figures late into the night.
You the reason a man like he is.
You had any issues with her?
I don't like her. I ain't ever had no issues with her. I just don't like her. I don't like her.
Why you don't like her? You personally, why you don't
Because she
like
got my motherfucking money. That's why. That's why I don't like her.
Jaguar paints a picture where adult behavior and grown conversations were constantly happening in the background, and she claims a young Diddy was around that atmosphere far too often. In her telling, this allegedly blurred boundaries and slowly normalized excess, power plays, and unhealthy dynamics that should have stayed far away from family life.
This man was talking about that his mother could take her palms and bend over and put them down on the floor. Not bend over, but she could stand straight up and put her palms on the floor, bruh. He's saying that about his mother. Who describes any of their mother action like that in a sexual way? And then, you know, I don't know how many dudes do kiss their mother in their mouth when they 50, 60 years old or something like that.
Jaguar also says Janice carefully shaped Diddy's mindset early on, filling his head with street legends, dominant stories, and movies that glorified control and intimidation. She believes this wasn't random, but intentional, designed to toughen him up for an unforgiving industry. In Jaguar's view, Janice is the true architect behind Diddy's rise, allegedly using secrets, social leverage, and insider knowledge gathered over the years to help build and protect his empire. She claims this behind-the-scenes influence played a huge role in how Diddy moved through the industry. Now when it comes to Diddy's father, Jaguar also had plenty to say about that legacy and how Janice allegedly controlled the story around it. She claimed Janice painted Melvin as a larger-than-life gangster figure, feeding that image to her son while keeping darker details out of the picture. According to Jaguar, Diddy later learned on his own that his father was allegedly labeled a snitch and met a brutal end, something she says was never honestly explained to him growing up. Jaguar also described Janice as extremely hard-edged, allegedly drilling into Diddy that winning was the only option no matter the method. She claims manipulation wasn't discouraged, it was normalized as part of survival and success. Then Jaguar pointed out what she calls a strange lack of boundaries between mother and son. Public moments like kissing on the mouth or comments about Janice's physical flexibility raised eyebrows for many people watching from the outside. Jaguar argues these moments hinted at a dynamic where Janice acted less like a protective parent and more like a close social peer. Outside of Jaguar's claims, others have long noted that unhealthy parent-child dynamics can make adult relationships complicated. And that observation keeps resurfacing whenever Diddy's personal life becomes public. Now let's talk about the indictments, because this is where things get real heavy. The allegations reportedly describe these so-called freak-off parties as highly staged events, carefully planned, directed, and allegedly recorded by Combs himself. According to the claims, these weren't random gatherings but controlled setups designed to look glamorous on the surface. The accusations say Diddy allegedly pulled women in by offering what looked like real romantic interest, building trust first before flipping the situation. After that, prosecutors claim coercion and pressure were used to push women into situations they didn't fully agree to, involving paid male participants and extended encounters. What really shocked people was the detail about recovery afterward. The allegations say women were allegedly given IV fluids to help them physically bounce back, which immediately rang bells online because similar claims had already been circulating about those same IV treatments being used in Diddy's inner circle. And that's where speculation exploded. People started asking, if Janice was reportedly receiving the same IV treatments tied to these events, would anyone really be shocked if assumptions followed? That question alone lit social media on fire. Jaguar also took aim at Janice's public defense of her son, calling her an unreliable narrator who, in her opinion, is protecting money, assets, and legacy above all else. She pointed out that Janice holds significant financial interests connected to Bad Boy, suggesting loyalty may be tied to wealth, secrets, and survival. Jaguar didn't stop there either. She went as far as suggesting that Janice's alleged ties to the industry's darker corners ran so deep that she shouldn't be seen as a bystander at all, but more like a co-conspirator in her eyes. That claim alone pushed this whole conversation into another lane. And to be fair, Janice has publicly defended Diddy multiple times. When things started heating up legally, reports surfaced that she was rushed to the hospital after experiencing chest discomfort. At the time, Diddy was still in Miami, but at his mother's request, he reportedly went straight to the hospital to be by her side. Sources claimed Janice believed the pain was linked to stress surrounding her son's legal troubles, including the federal investigation and several civil lawsuits. Doctors allegedly kept her hospitalized for observation, and people close to the situation said Diddy stayed with her as a source of comfort during that moment. There were also reports that Janice told people around her that her son wasn't who the public was making him out to be. Later on, she released a formal statement through her attorney, firmly saying her son is not a monster, doubling down on her defense as the pressure continued to rise. In her statement, Janice said she was deeply saddened by the serious allegations her son is facing and stressed that he deserves the opportunity to defend himself in a courtroom, not on social media. She claimed it was painful watching her son be judged not on proven facts, but on what she described as a storyline built from misinformation and assumptions. She also addressed that widely discussed hotel surveillance video involving Diddy and Cassie, making it clear she wasn't trying to paint her son as flawless. Janice openly admitted that he is not perfect and that he has made mistakes in his life, just like anyone else navigating pressure and fame. In the same statement, she acknowledged that Diddy may not have been fully honest in the past, specifically referencing earlier denials about being physical with a former girlfriend, when video evidence later suggested otherwise. She framed this as part of a larger issue, where fear and complexity can push people to hide uncomfortable truths. Janice went on to say that sometimes truth and falsehood get so tangled together that admitting even part of the reality feels terrifying, especially when that truth challenges public expectations. She suggested this is why Diddy's civil legal team chose to settle the lawsuit rather than fight it out in court, arguing the fallout could have caused even more damage across multiple fronts. Janice went on to say that watching federal authorities interpret the settlement as an admission of guilt was devastating for her and their family. She described how painful it was to see people online cracking jokes and laughing while her son's life appeared to be falling apart in real time. She said what hurt the most was how quickly the world turned on her son without ever hearing his full side of the story. In her words, people rushed to judgment based on assumptions, headlines, and rumors without giving him a fair chance to speak or defend himself. In the same statement, Janice suggested that some accusations were being made for financial reasons, claiming people saw a quick payout after the first lawsuit was settled. She argued that these claims were then used by federal authorities to build a case against her son, turning what she called lies into legal weapons. Janice described the situation as unbearable for their family, saying the emotional toll had been overwhelming. She added that the most painful part wasn't legal pressure, but watching her son be stripped of his dignity, not for proven actions but for what people chose to believe. She closed by urging the public, fans, and supporters not to rush to judgment. Janice insisted once again that her son is not the monster he's been portrayed as and deserves the opportunity to tell his side of the story. And now, the public is split right down the middle. On one side, people say Janice is just doing what any mother would do, standing 10 toes down for her son when the whole world is pointing fingers. On the other side, critics argue her words feel less like protection and more like damage control as the pressure keeps closing in. Online, the debates are non-stop. Some believe her statement was heartfelt and emotional, while others think it carefully avoided the biggest question still hanging in the air. That silence alone has only fueled more speculation instead of calming things down. What really stands out is how this situation keeps pulling Janice deeper into the spotlight. Whether she wants it or not, her role, her history, and her finances are now being examined just as closely as her son's actions. And once the internet locks onto a narrative, it rarely lets go quietly. At this point, one thing is clear: this story is far from over. More details, more reactions, and more twists are likely coming as investigations continue and public opinion keeps shifting. If you want to stay locked in as this unfolds, make sure you subscribe to Juicy Reel right now. This channel keeps it raw, updated, and unfiltered. Don't miss what drops next. What makes this whole situation even messier is how every new detail seems to raise more questions instead of answers. The public isn't just watching Diddy anymore, they're watching how everyone around him moves, speaks, and reacts under pressure. Janice's past statements, her timing, and even her silence in certain moments are now being replayed and dissected online like evidence in a courtroom. People are comparing old interviews, resurfacing photos, and pointing out patterns they believe were always hiding in plain sight. At the same time, others are pushing back hard, saying speculation is being treated like fact far too easily. They argue that assumptions and internet theories shouldn't replace due process, no matter how uncomfortable the allegations may sound. Still, once doubt enters the conversation, it's almost impossible to contain. Every move gets questioned, every defense gets challenged, and every denial gets side-eyed. One thing's for sure, this story has crossed the point of being just celebrity news. It's now about power, influence, loyalty, and what happens when long-controlled narratives start cracking in public view. At this stage, the conversation has shifted from shock to suspicion, and people are no longer just reacting. They're analyzing everything. Every old clip, every quote, and every public appearance connected to Diddy and Janice is being replayed with a magnifying glass, and the internet is moving like a jury that never sleeps. What really has folks talking is the pattern they think they're seeing. Some believe the same tactics show up again and again: control, silence, settlements, and carefully worded statements designed to stop things from going any further. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, it's become part of the public discussion, and it's not going away anytime soon. Others are pushing back hard, saying this is exactly how speculation spirals out of control. They argue that unproven claims are being stacked on top of each other until rumor starts sounding like fact, and once that line blurs, reputations can be damaged beyond repair. Still, one undeniable truth remains: power changes how stories unfold. When money, influence, and legacy are involved, people assume there's always more happening behind closed doors. That belief alone keeps the theories alive, even when concrete answers are still missing. What's also striking is how loyalty keeps coming up again and again. Janice's unwavering defense has become just as controversial as the accusations themselves, with some seeing it as unconditional love and others viewing it as strategic protection. And now, the pressure isn't just on the courts, it's on public trust. People want clarity, accountability, and transparency, but they're also wrestling with the reality that not every story has a clean ending. As this continues to unfold, one thing is certain: the spotlight isn't dimming anytime soon. Stay tapped in, stay informed, and if you want every update as it drops, subscribe to Juicy Reel so you don't miss what comes next. Janice ended one of her statements with an emotional line, saying she could only pray she lives long enough to see her son speak his truth and be cleared once again. That alone hit a nerve with a lot of people because it showed just how deeply she feels this whole situation on a personal level. After the Netflix documentary dropped, Janice came back out with another statement, this time pushing back hard. She said parts of the documentary were filled with what she called intentional inaccuracies, especially when it came to Diddy's upbringing and family life. According to her, the story being told didn't match the reality she lived. Janice made it clear that she raised Diddy with discipline, love, and non-stop work ethic. She said she worked 3, sometimes 4 jobs at a time just to keep food on the table and give her son a chance at something better. In her eyes, that struggle gets erased when people paint her with a darker brush. She also directly rejected claims made by Kirk Burroughs, who alleged that Diddy once slapped her during a conversation. Janice called that allegation inaccurate and completely false, making it clear she wasn't letting that narrative slide. And while many people understand a mother wanting to protect her child, these repeated statements have only pushed the public to dig deeper into Janice's own past. The more she speaks, the more questions seem to pop up. Now word on the street is that Janice may be preparing to take legal action against people she believes are spreading false narratives about her, including Jaguar Wright. Whether that actually happens remains to be seen. As for whether a so-called tape involving Janice and Diddy exists, there's no confirmed proof either way. But let me know what you think. Is it wild speculation or something deeper? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Juicy Reel for every update as this story continues to unfold. Janice wrapped up one of her public statements with a powerful message, saying she could only pray she lives long enough to see her son finally speak his truth and be cleared in the public eye once again. That line alone struck a chord, because it showed just how personal and painful this entire situation has become for her. After the Netflix documentary aired, Janice didn't stay silent for long. She released another statement calling out what she described as misleading and inaccurate portrayals, especially regarding Diddy's childhood and how he was raised. According to her, the documentary pushed a version of events that didn't reflect the reality she lived every day. She stressed that Diddy was raised with structure, love, and relentless effort. Janice said she worked 3, sometimes 4 jobs at once just to provide stability and opportunity for her son, and she felt that sacrifice was being completely ignored in favor of a more sensational narrative. Janice also directly shut down allegations made by Kirk Burroughs, who claimed Diddy once slapped her during a disagreement. She labeled that claim false and inaccurate, making it clear she wasn't willing to let those accusations stand without challenge. While many people understand a mother wanting to shield her child, these repeated defenses have only intensified public curiosity. Each new statement seems to encourage deeper digging into Janice's own past and her role behind the scenes. Now there are whispers that Janice may be preparing to take legal action against individuals she believes are spreading harmful narratives about her, including Jaguar Wright. Whether that turns into real court action remains to be seen. As for the rumors about a so-called tape involving Janice and Diddy, there is no verified proof confirming anything like that exists. Still, speculation continues to swirl. What do you think? Pure rumor, or something being blown way out of proportion? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to Juicy Reel so you don't miss a single update as this story keeps unfolding.